USA Ultimate proudly presents the 2019 US Open Ultimate Championships. For the third year in a row, the Open in the North Star State. We're in Blaine, Minnesota at the National Sports Center, and our quadruple header of semifinal coverage on this Saturday begins with Columbia Revolution and Seattle Riot. Quarters were this morning, and they were competitive. Riot 15-12 over Huck from Japan. Revolution trailed Molly Brown 3-0 out the gate, but the Colombian team battled back, as we've seen them do so many times, advancing to the semifinals. And for the second time in 3 years, it's Riot and Revo. Welcome, everybody, with Megan Tormey and Ian Toner down in the field. I am Evan Lepler. Delighted to be with you for this Triple Crown Tour coverage that'll continue in Pennsylvania at the Pro Championships Labor Day weekend, and then in San Diego in October. We begin the Odyssey, though, here today with a pretty tasty matchup, Riot and Revolution.
Yeah, and both teams have battled a little bit of adversity to get to this point, so their program's looking really poised to give us another sensational semifinal like they did 2 years ago.
Let's talk about 2 years ago, Megan, because that was really the breakout performance on the international stage. Yeah, they've had some good showings at Worlds in the past, but under the bright lights of the U.S. Open, they beat Riot, they beat Molly Brown. Mauricio Moore has been at the helm of this program for a couple decades now, and remember, 2 years ago, the Cartagena sisters were just 18 years old. Manuela and Valeria turned 20 last week, and Manuela seems to be well on her way to becoming the face of the sport.
Listen, she started playing Ultimate competitively when she was 9 years old.
Ridiculous.
Absolutely, and she has such athleticism, so you take her experience and her athleticism, it's no wonder she dazzled us with the types of plays she made 2 years ago. She's gotten even better since then. She's going to be huge for Revo today.
And over the course of history, Seattle Riot has struggled with this Revolution team with one notable exception. That was the final of the World Club Championships last year in Cincinnati when Riot was on fire, taking down Revolution. We thought that might be Dominique Fontenette's last time on the world stage. She was planning to retire. Got news for you. She's back.
It's really hard to quit when you are as good as Dominique Fontenette is. She has been the face of Riot for so many years. She brings an experience and a gravitas that Riot really likes to revolve themselves around. It's going to be fun to see her bring that experience, bring that maturity to the field against a team as competitive as Revolution.
And you think about the historic nature of this matchup. When Fontenette was in her early 20s, she played against some of the legends back in the 90s. Here we are in 2019. She's in her early 40s. She goes against the Cartagena sisters and Revolution. Riot Revo to get our day started in Minnesota coming up. The USA Ultimate US Open Club Championships are presented by Spin Ultimate, providing custom team uniforms and ultimate apparel since 2007. Visit Spin Ultimate on the web at spinultimate.com. By the Ultimate History Book, illuminating the legendary stories, moments, and photos from the sport of Ultimate over the past 50 years. Learn more at ultimatehistorybook.com. And by Discraft, home of the Ultra Star, the official disc of USA Ultimate. Now featuring an updated website to make ordering custom discs easier than ever. Visit discraft.com for all your custom disc needs. Cloudy morning has become a bright and sunny early afternoon in Minnesota as you look at Mauricio Moore, the head coach of Columbia Revolution. They had a battle earlier today against Denver Molly Brown, and our intrepid reporter Ian Toner was there to see it. Ian?
Thanks, Evan. Earlier this morning, the Colorado Molly Brown squad had Columbia Revolution on the ropes. They jumped out to an early 3-0 lead, and they had an 8-5 advantage at halftime. But in the second half, Mauricio Moore's strategic adjustments started making Molly Brown uncomfortable. They started utilizing flat marks against the Colorado throwers and forcing those offensive handlers upfield, making it that much more difficult to complete backfield resets. Revolution took its first lead at 12-11. They didn't turn the disc over at all in the second half, and they earned their semifinals berth with a 15-13 victory. Lots of energy expended in that comeback by Revolution, Evan.
Starting lineups for Revolution. Manuela Cartagena, as dynamic an athlete as we have in the sport right now. Elizabeth Mosquera right there alongside her. Shanique Crawford, Atlanta native, joins Revolution for this tournament with Ferrero, Rojas, Santos, and Karen Rico, the Rico sisters. Two names to know as we get started in the semifinals. And for Riot, plenty of familiar faces. The newest impact player for Seattle Riot might be a Japanese import, Kaede Yoshida from Tokyo, U24 a couple years ago for Japan, and she has been pretty special, integrating her style into what Gwen Ambler, Rory Tidcombe, and Annie Loveseth have done for years in the Seattle system. Revolution in their trusty pinks, the numbers, thankfully, much more clearly viewed than a couple of years ago, and Riot in the white, and it'll be Yoshida to receive this opening pull. These two teams just both carry different types of excitement as the huck goes up and Mosquera eats it up. Ambitious throw from Abby Abramovich, denied by Mosquera.
Mauricio Moore talked about how good Mosquera is getting year after year and how central she's going to be on defense. He said, she's the best defender we have. I always want her on defense, showing very quickly her value on the defensive squad.
Well, he asked Mauricio about Mosquera and just how she has improved, and he said it's mostly her mental game that has gotten so much stronger. Revolution looking for an opening break. Manuela Cardenas matched up with the dynamic Jack Verjou from Dartmouth College. Two-time college champion, and Verjou and the Dartmouth team oh so close again, within 1 point of the title. But at College Nationals, it was UC San Diego. That was just a little bit better in one of the games of the decade. On the doorstep now, Ferrero. Looking for a reset, pretty good handler defense, so back up field, now into the backfield, and it is kept alive by the bidding Maria Paula Santos. And that's a quick glimpse into the type of athleticism that you just see Revolution makes look routine, Megan.
That's well said, and that's really what dazzled us the first time we saw them 2 years ago. Plays that you thought were ended, they kept alive with grace.
Cardenas throwing that reset a little bit too far ahead of Ferreira. Here's Yoshida wide open downfield to Verjou. Shira Stern going deep, but it's Yoshida and Verjou going back and forth. And a first point timeout is called. Just 2 turnovers into this point. It has gotten hotter than it was this morning, and that's going to be an adjustment for these players. It's going to warm up into the mid-80s, presumably, as the day progresses. And there's very little wind. There has not been much wind at the Open so far this year. Jack Verjou, so close to 3 consecutive college titles. Despite the 1 point loss, Jack still remains at the forefront of this next generation of ultimate superstars.
Absolutely. They are just such an incredible athlete. They have fantastic field sense as well, and certainly doesn't shy away from big games, big moments. They're always there, making the play necessary, and here making the timeout call necessary, sensing the importance of being the first team to put up the point, knowing that this game is probably going to go down to the wire, probably going to be close fought. Each point is absolutely critical.
Kind of a diagonal vertical stack, angled for Seattle Riot. Verjou picks up. Breaks the mark immediately to Hannah Kawai. Yoshida, ambitious shot, and it's off the hands of Abramovich in the end zone. Riot's second turnover of the point, and Abramovich, former mixtape standout, involved in both of them.
Just a slightly different shape to that disc would have been a score for Riot. A little more outside in necessary. Abramovich was completely unmarked, had made a great cut to the front corner of the end zone.
I'll tell you, one of the things that stood out to me watching Riot the last 36 hours, it's not like Kaede Yoshida is taking her time integrating into the system. I mean, she is not tentative at all for a new player in a new place with a new team. She's almost taken charge. And obviously, Seattle Riot is without one of their other handler additions in Valeria Cardenas, who, longtime member of Revolution. We say a longtime member, it's true, but she's still just 20 years old. The Cardenas sisters, twins, beginning to play Ultimate when they were 9. See Mauricio Moore exchanging hugs with everybody down to the sideline in his customary cap. But Valeria Cardenas coming to Seattle to play with Riot this year, much like Manuela has played for Denver Molly Brown the past couple seasons. They're both Cardenas sisters. They were listed on both the U.S. roster for their American team and the Revolution team. They're playing, of course, with Revolution here at this international event. The U.S. Open, which was first played in 2012 and really has become a staple of the Ultimate calendar. Tough grab there from Jeana Cartagena. We apologizing for not talking more about her off the top. She is a do-it-all type player as well. So difficult to stop. Yoshida has that task at the moment as Manuela Cardenas dishes for Elizabeth Mosquera. Verju close with Manuela. And then Yoshida and Verju switch, and throwing into the poach was Cartagena, intercepted by Kawhi.
Clever positioning from Kawhi, noticing that they were having a little bit of difficulty moving the disc.
Titcom's throw with a slightly gratuitous but still impressive bid from Yoshida. Quick dump to Verju, quick dish to the end zone, Kawhi. A circuitous hold, but after a couple turns per side, Verju to Kawhi and Riot on the board.
There's the throw that Kawhi read incredibly well, giving Riot the offensive possession. And that throw from Jeana Titcomb to Yoshida. Revolution could have been a little bit quicker getting down, but you got to give credit to Cartagena for holding Riot at the doorstep for a pass or two before Riot players caught up, and Kawhi ultimately giving herself the bookends.
Verju, no stranger to the score sheet. One of the dynamics we'll be monitoring today for both sides is just the depth. Revolution basically has a couple lines of players. Seattle Riot is not at full strength either, but they have more bench pieces to integrate. Revolution is without Aleja Torres, the veteran handler who's working her way back from injury. Don't expect to see her on the field. And also Laura Ospina tore her ACL last fall. She's not expected to play, Megan, but I have to report, I did see her putting her cleats on pregame. Mauricio Moore says, yeah, she always does that, but she won't play. Or she said she won't play. She won't be playing inside the lines, but she will still be playing from the sideline. And there is no call. So through the hands of Valeria Cardenas, Revolution turnover sets up Riot for the break opportunity. Charlie Eide fake Cartagena out, the two number 20s. And here's Khalees Cardenas. No relation to Manuela and Valeria, except for the fact that they're former teammates. Rachel Bradshaw on the doorstep. Unable to squeeze it through to the cutting Rodenberg, and instead Riot turns it over. That'd be a different field. Both these teams played this morning in overcast, relatively cool conditions. Now they were on natural grass before too. Now they're on turf, and it has heated up a good 10-15 degrees, it feels like, since this morning.
Yeah, this is undoubtedly a more uncomfortable game than their first round game.
Rodenberg to the end zone, connecting with Amy Kawhi. The Kawhi sisters responsible for the first 2 Seattle Riot scores. Hannah with a hold, Amy with a break, 2-0 Riot.
There was the D from Johnson that gave them the opportunity to score initially, led to another turnover, but here's the second Riot possession that led to that lovely score.
Rodenberg now with her in her second year on the team, puts it on the money for Amy to run it down. The collections of siblings that are involved mightily in this matchup. I mean, we have the Titcomb sisters, obviously associated with Riot for a long time. Rory now moving into a coaching role with Jeana launching that huck. We've got the Kawhi sisters. We've got the Cartagena sisters, Manuela and Valeria, not Colis. Got to be specific with these things. And then the Rico sisters are the newest names on Revolution that you should probably know. Eliana and Karen, 29 and 27 years old, respectively. Eliana, number 11, and Karen, number 27. 2 new names to watch for Revolution. Meanwhile, Seattle Riot's road to the championship, 2-0 in Pool A, despite Chicago nemesis. Megan, your old squad, took Riot to the brink on Friday morning. Riot winning the crossover with Fury, which was purely a game for seeding purposes, and then getting hucked in the quarters. And Japanese team played Riot tough, but in the end, Seattle too strong. Megan has a gleaming look of pride on her face for what Nemesis did.
They did play well, but to Riot's credit, they've had some close games, and Cassie Swafford said the entire time they have felt as though they were in charge of the game. And watching them, I tend to agree. They have looked as though they were in control, even when the game was getting frighteningly close.
Another unforced Revolution turnover. Hannah Kawhi to the end zone. It was dropped initially, but then Bailey Zahnizer recovers to put Riot ahead 3-0.
Oh man, I can't wait to see that one again. As she was falling.
Well, she was out of bounds.
So important to keep your eyes on those sidelines as you're playing and getting closer to it, but check out this grab from Zahnizer. Great recovery.
As a receiver, are you proud of this?
Well, I mean,
yes and no.
No, right. She should have had that grab, but if you're not going to make it, then you got to make that recovery.
Zahnizer with a sigh of relief, the former Oregon Fugue star. And a timeout from Columbia Revolution. They had 2 chances to break Riot. In the opening point, had the disc on the goal line, could not convert. And since then, Riot 2 for 2 on break chances, season control. I should say 2 for 3 on break chances. Revolution turned it twice in the last point, but 3-0 Revolution down, and a little heart-to-heart with Coach Moore.
I gotta say, the team that is probably not afraid at this moment is Revolution. This is how they started their game against Molly Brown. They did not come out playing the game they wanted to play. And Mauricio Moore said, you know, normally I'm a really tough guy and I'm kind of hard on them, but I was just like, hey, let's get back in the game. Let's do the things that we need to do. So I imagine he's taken a similar approach, being relaxed, reminding the team we have all the skills necessary to thrive in this moment. We're pausing to stop Riot's momentum and to get ourselves collected and in the game the way we know we can be.
We asked Mauricio what happened at the start of the Molly Brown game, and the first words out of his mouth with a smile on his face, he said, "We're dumb." And then he talked about how they had a really good warm-up, he thought, but then just an uncharacteristic lack of energy early on. Said in the past where they may have panicked in that situation, everybody stayed calm. one break at a time, and obviously this is a team that, as you said, they can overcome an early deficit. When they get rolling, they're hard to stop, and it feels like they're one of those teams, they're the team that can best stop themselves. I'm not sure any other team can really slow them down.
That's well said. And, you know, the other thing that is to their benefit is how many times they have performed under pressure on really large stages. You can't overstate how important that is as a team to be able to overcome adversity when cameras are rolling, when so much is at stake. This is somewhat routine for Revolution at this point.
Offsides on the Seattle Riot D-line was the call. So Charlie Eide will wind it up again. Eide now in her 6th year on Riot. This team has a handful of new players this year. Abby Abramovich, we mentioned, Linnea Sue, obviously Kaede Yoshida, but for the most part, this is a veteran team with players like Alyssa Weatherford and Khalees Cardenas, who are in their 2nd decade on the squad. Dominique Fontenette in year 8, Shira Stern in year 7. In terms of key players that Riot is missing this weekend, Stephanie Lim banged up, Charlie Mercer as well. Perhaps the most notable loss from a year ago, and apologies if I'm forgetting someone, but Paige Soper is very important for this team as a handler. She's now back in the Midwest, leaving her former college teammate Cassie Swafford in the Pacific Northwest as the lone Ohio State alum representing Fever on Riot. Here's Mosquera. Over to Cartagena, and Manuela Cardenas, unmarked. And wow. Valeria, maybe some nerves against the team she's been practicing with throughout the summer thus far. Yoshida to Kelly Johnson, who launches. It's a good huck. It's going to be run down by Molly McKeon. Swing back to Johnson. Eide back to Johnson, known in the Frisbee world as Vegas. Pretty good handler defense for the moment, but finally Eide shakes free of Valeria Cardenas and hits Kelly Johnson for the score. And all of a sudden, Seattle up 4-zip on the superpower from Colombia.
Surprising to see Cardenas drop the disc just right to the bread basket. That should be everyday bread and butter. And as you said, some great handler defense. Eide able to shake free. And then Vegas doing her textbook strike to the end zone ahead of the defense. And you see her, because she had the space, because she had no defense, she was able to look down, figure out where the end zone line was, able to run it in without issue.
Down on the field, we go to Ian Toner, standing by with as special a guest he could be joined by.
Thanks a lot, Evan. I am joined by USA Ultimate's Will Deaver. And Will, we are in a level 1 heat advisory. Can you explain what that is to the fans?
It's a level that we determine based on wet bulb globe temperature device. So we track that measurement. And when we reach a certain point, it's measuring temperature, humidity, wind speed, sunlight, all that. We implement some safety measures to give breaks for the teams. So at level 1, we give an extra hydration break each half.
And what's it going to take to get to another level, say level 2?
Well, the levels are 82 is level 1 for this measurement. 87 is the next level. Again, that's not temperature. It's kind of this combined reading. So I think we're still a little bit ways away from that.
Will, we know you have a lot to manage and keep this tournament running. Thank you so much for giving us your time.
All right, no problem. Thank you.
Evan, back up to you.
Ian, thank you very much. A look at the wet bulb globe thermometer device. Will Deaver, he is an ultimate legend. Before this tournament began, I was reading the new Ultimate History book, Megan, which is one of our sponsors. Delighted to have a look at that book. We got it up here in the booth. And the amount that Will Deaver has contributed to the sport of Ultimate as a player, as an administrator, I mean, one of the greats. He was on some of the early USA World Games team. He's the visionary for the future and also our window into the past, and a meteorological expert.
In short, there's nothing he can't do.
So 4-0, perhaps a lucky timeout that Revolution gets to take a breather, because just a couple uncharacteristic mistakes, and I mean, Riot has made them pay the price. It doesn't feel like a 4-0 game, but I mean, 4-0 is domination right now.
It is, and it's going to be increasingly difficult to come back from that. I know that's perhaps a bit trite, but a team like Riot knows how to keep the level of intensity high, even through these slightly longer breaks, even through halftime. So it's really going to be important for Revolution to start closing this gap.
Don't be alarmed, folks. They do an average over a length of time. It's not like if all of a sudden it becomes 87, then we're in a level 2. It's something that the medical staff and the USA Ultimate administrators are overseeing. Hopefully we avoid level 2 or level 3. Columbia on offense for the 4th consecutive point.
I want you to think about inviting the disc to your person once we get to one way, not an FM.
Jeana Titcomb with one of her trademark pulls. That one sails a little bit shy of 70 yards from the front of the end zone to the other. Titcomb picks up Manuela, who's starting to be called Manu more and more in the Ultimate world. You like that, Manu?
Yeah, I do. I'm a big fan of nicknames.
You would be. Cartagena over to Manu. Meanwhile, the timeout gives Revolution stars a chance to take a breather. It also allowed Riot's defense to rest, and they look like a rested, energetic, fast D-line right now. Linda Kudo, Jonah Shaver, Steve Wong, and Josh Hemish are the observers. Hemish has had some good moments on this field as a player with Minneapolis Dragon Thrust, who we will see later tonight. To the end zone, and Revolution converts. Columbia on the board. That's Mosquera with the athletic one-handed snag for the women from Medellin.
What a nice find from Cartagena. That is a classic example of knowing exactly what your teammate can do. She throws that disc down the rail, knowing that Mosquera can close the distance and catch that over her defender.
We talked about 2 years ago. Jeana Cartagena took that game over. It was breathtaking. Riot had no chance to stop it as Mosquera scores the goal. And now the Revolution D-line will get to retake the field. That was the first turnover-free point of the game. Revolution 2-0 in Pool B. Close game against Portland Schwa. 8-point win over Nightlock, and then back and forth they went with Brute Squad. That was a wild game yesterday, late afternoon. Brute Squad takes it 16-15. Taking down Denver Molly Brown in quarters after trailing early in that game. The other women's semifinal featuring Boston Brute Squad and DC Scandal, who pulled off perhaps the upset of the quarterfinal round, taking down San Francisco Fury. Fury, the two-time defending national champion, but it'll be interesting to see, Megan, as the season progresses. Will Scandal over Fury continue to be considered an upset? Obviously, Scandal has vastly improved as Riot sends it deep to Yoshida, and the throw from Cryo Camp sails out of play. What do you think about the DC Scandal win over Fury and how they kind of fit into the hierarchy of women's ultimate as we're still very early in the season?
Sure. Well, let's talk first about Scandal. They've added some new pieces that are really exciting, and then under the guise of Dutchy, really helping pieces fall into place well so that they're functioning great as a unit even this early in the season.
Team USA coach Alex Gestier. She's a nickname person, we know that.
But you have to be careful not to discount Fury. They have a tendency to design their program for nationals.
Stall count rising, and Valeria just ripped it deep. Fontenette and Mosquera are both there, and it's Mosquera who ripped it out of the sky, but a travel was called on the throw. So this one's coming back.
Pretty sure Valeria Cartagena's both feet left the ground on that throw.
Yeah. Athletic maneuver, but against the rules.
Minute 7.
Verju on the mark. And Valeria takes a swing to Mosquera. Back to Valeria, just shy of midfield. Low little air bounce to Jimenez. Gabriel Jimenez. A slight drag of the pivot foot, but a smart no call there, I think, by Riot. Touch from Montagna. Valeria basically going every other here. Montagna right back to Valeria Cardenas.
Dom, touch them! Dom, get close!
Jad Rojas open, cutting across the front of the end zone, number 13. And there's a pick.
Coming in on 2.
I saw Dominique on the sideline yesterday, and we made eye contact, and she just said, yeah, I didn't retire. Didn't even say hello. Physical play by Cryo Camp, but the catch made by Revolution's Maria Paula Santos, who breaks the mark to Valeria Cardenas. Nice job establishing the mark there by, I believe, Cryo Camp. And that swing finds Mosquera, and there's a pick in the stack. It'll stay, I believe, with Elizabeth Mosquera.
Yeah, okay. 2 or 3 stalls ago.
Earlier in the day yesterday, I was chatting with Fury coach Matty Sang about the idea of how retirement is a spectrum. It is not either or. You are retired or you are not. We've seen that from Matty. I asked Matty about that in the context of Alex Snyder, who is the Fury legend, who's not on the Fury roster at the moment, but he said, I wouldn't say she's retired right now, but you can still play tournaments when you're retired. Just out of the reach of the bidding Cartagena, make it Cardenas. But I like the idea of retirement as a spectrum.
I think
it's
that's
a process.
fair and appropriate.
Alyssa Weatherford uncorks just out of the reach of Cryo Camp on the deep shot.
You're in front of the blue line. That's really close, though.
I don't disagree with that decision, but the execution needed just a little more touch. It's not like she had to bend it around multiple defenders.
Another deep shot. And it's incomplete. Each team now with 2 turnovers on this point. Couple missed break opportunities for Revolution. Near the sideline, Fontenette runs out of space, but a foul on the throw will bring it back. Montagna fouling Abramovich.
Sorry. We have to get
Where you were when the throw went up?
Okay. So, contested foul. What was your stall, please? What was your stall? Count.
Winner of this game, Megan, will play in the U.S.
We're on
Open
floor, everyone.
Championship game bright and early tomorrow. As Riot takes a timeout. We'll be here late tonight and then back early tomorrow morning. 9:30 Eastern Time, 8:30 local time, 6:30 West Coast time for the U.S. Open final in the women's division. And then at noon Eastern, we'll be live on ESPN 2, the men's final. Look at the women's bracket. We should say something about this German national team in the bottom left part of the screen. They were ahead on Brute Squad in that game. They were leading Fury in pool play late in the second half. Gave Molly Brown a heck of a battle. They didn't make it to the semis, but that German national team earned a ton of respect this week.
It gave everyone a little bit of trouble. They just played really well up the line. They had a deep game that was difficult for other teams to challenge. They functioned well as a unit and certainly came feeling like they could play with the best teams here, and they certainly could hang.
This Revolution team knows about trying to compete with the best from the U.S., along with the best from the world. And while there is certainly still a gap, generally, between the top American teams and the top international teams, that gap continues to narrow. Now, there's still a gap, but it's gotten smaller. And we see teams like Germany being competitive, and rare error from Fontenette. This bounces off her left hand. By number of turnovers, this now the longest point of the opening half. Revolution deep shot is there. Jimenez hauls it in. Revolution breaks back. 1 down, 2 to go to get back even.
Mosquera did a great job of keeping her eye on her receiver, waiting for Jimenez to shake free from her defender, get a few steps around and ahead before she unleashed. The timing was great. The shape of the disc was great.
And an easy catch for Gabriela Jimenez, beating Cryle Camp to the spot. Six points in. Offense has only held twice. The first point and the 5th point. Used to seeing that a lot on windy days, but it's not necessarily on days where the wind is barely a factor.
Certainly. Of course, a few uncharacteristic mistakes from Revolution have given Riot the opportunities for breaks.
As we said, this Revolution team never out of a game. Think back to watching them at the World Ultimate Club Championships in Cincinnati last year. I mean, they were so impressive throughout the tournament. Taking down Brute Squad in the semifinals, and they just kind of ran out of gas against Riot. That indoor final, Riot got off to a great start. Verju was dominant. And Revolution, you know, that was the game that they had really been looking forward to for like a decade. And there's a lot of pressure that comes with that. And Mauricio Moore was pretty frank after the game, just saying the moment got a little big for us. But he was still immensely proud that, you know, they had set the goal a decade ago to win that world championship. and they came in second, ahead of Fury, ahead of Brute Squad, ahead of Molly Brown, ahead of Ozone, ahead of Huck and Uno, and all the other top women's teams from around the world. And we've seen them beat Riot before. Here's Kawhi, swings it for Johnson. Nice job by Manuela Cardenas, playing about 10 yards off of Johnson, but cutting off the angle, but Riot perseveres. Turnover free hold from Seattle, punctuated by the Titcomb catch. And Megan, there's a conversation to be had about Seattle Riot and kind of their place in the ultimate hierarchy right now. They're the #1 seed coming into this tournament. They're the defending world champions. They've won the last 2 World Club Championships, and yet the elephant in the room, that national title has eluded this incredibly talented team for a decade and a half now.
Certainly, it's something that Riot has struggled with in terms of how to develop their program so that they can thrive the entire length of the club season. They seem to fall short just at the end. I feel like this year in particular, I'm seeing something a little bit different from Riot. As I mentioned earlier, they played some tough games, but even in the tough, tight games, I felt like Riot looked as though they were more poised, more in control, and they were just sort of tinkering, kind of moving pieces around. There was never any desperation from their play, just kind of thinking about, okay, it's gotten tight because of this, we're going to adjust slightly or pick up the speed of our offense. And those minor tweaks have led to victories throughout. You know, we talked with the coaching staff prior to the game, asking them, where in your season are you? And Gwen Ambler said, you know, we're just finishing working on the foundation before we start working into this system. So they even seem pleased and content with how things are going so far this season.
Revolution won't be pleased by that drop from Mosquera. In and out of her hands. And a collision, but the disc was hung on to by Riot. Amy Kawhi and Jeana Cartagena intersect. This is the play, Megan, that I think is really hard to take out of Ultimate. The rules, there's a lot of conversation about the dynamic of the rules right now. Amy Kawhi, we certainly hope she's okay. And I think the general public would say that was a dangerous play, perhaps by the defender, because she had nowhere to go. But I would argue, you know, both those players are at fault because they're coming from opposite directions. They're both going for the disc. Are neither one of them supposed to go for the disc? I mean, I don't know.
I really struggle with that question too, and of course you want to take the contact out of the sport so that no one gets hurt, no one has to be carried off of the field. But it is hard to decide, where do you stop your play?
Into traffic, Seattle Riot hauls it in. Not exactly how the offense drew it up there, I bet, but Bradshaw with a tough grab. And that's a break for Riot. They lead 6-2.
Sticky hands from Bradshaw.
Good quality for any Ultimate player. Almost like she closed her eyes and just see if she could make the catch. By the way, Hannah Kawhi is having an incredible game right now. That's her 3rd assist. She scored the opening goal. Riot is 4 for 5 on break chances. And Seattle is in control here in the first half. There have been several plays at the U.S. Open this week and plays that we've watched from the Pro Elite Challenge and all throughout the sport and other tournaments as well, where sometimes we see blue cards issued for dangerous plays. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes it's an unobserved game and we ask, well, is that a dangerous play? And I think it'll be really important as we continue on toward the Pro Championships and more importantly towards Nationals to get some real specific clarifications, not on what the rules are going to be in the future, but what the rules are now and what is acceptable now. Because right now, players don't know, the broadcasters certainly don't know, and to some extent, the observers don't know. There's a level of inconsistency depending on who you get, and in some ways that's to be expected because officials have different styles in every sport, but I think you understand my point.
Absolutely.
Official word on Amy Kawhi, a right ankle injury. She's being taped up as we speak. Hopefully we see her back out there today or tomorrow. Cartagena, the swing and the score. Maria Angelica Forero. Teammates just call her Manji. Third-year Revo player hauls it in to make it 6-3. Second assist for Cartagena.
Revolution did a great job of adjusting to the kind of junky look that Riot came out with that eventually turned into person. Just kept the speed of their offense up, but continually were looking to see what shape, what format the defenders were in, and adjusted their throws beautifully.
Jeana Cartagena, now 28 years old, her 13th year playing for Revolution. It is incredible what Mauricio Moore and Aleja Torres and the other Colombian leaders have done to build this team. And, you know, they certainly got fortunate by getting the athletes that they did. And, you know, Mauricio says as soon as we saw Manuela and Valeria at 9 years old, they had flicks, they had backhands, they were competitive. You asked them when did you know they were going to be great? He says when they were 9, which is crazy. Special athletes that, frankly, have a ways to go before they reach their prime, you would think.
Yeah, that's fair, but you're certainly right to laud the effort that Mauricio Moore and others have put in to develop the program, to keep players invested in continuing to grow as a unit, and just look at the outcome.
And he's a pioneer. More and more we're seeing, no pun intended, more Mauricio Moores around the world popping up in different Ultimate communities. What we've seen Latvia do, and Singapore, and China, and India. Obviously, the Irish women had an amazing spring at the European Championships. Tough catch by Johnson near the sideline. Who knows, maybe next year we get the Irish women's team at the US Open. Wouldn't that be fun? To the end zone for Yoshiba. Kaede Yoshida makes it 7-3, Riot. Only one turnover in the last 4 points. It has cleaned up a good bit here lately.
Yeah, I like what you said earlier about Yoshida just coming in and playing her game immediately, not being shy about stepping onto Riot and making definitive movements as a player.
One of the conversations that we often have is the importance of bringing in new talent to club rosters. Even if you have great players, you get a fresh face, you get a fresh style inserted into your system, you become forced to adapt and evolve. And I think it's been really important with not just Yoshida, but also Valeria Cardenas. And Kelly Johnson was chatting about that with me before the game, about the difference in styles that they brought, the angles, the way they saw the field. It changed the way the Riot veterans see the field.
And look, for a team that's been struggling with making it to the finals and winning in the finals, perhaps this is the X factor that Riot has been looking for the last few years.
Revolution won the U.S. Open last year, did not return to defend their title a year ago. They won 2 years ago. So Brute Squad won the Open last season. Brute Squad, the only team in the last half decade to win both the U.S. Open and Club Nationals in October, back in 2016. Brute Squad so close each of the last 2 years, falling in the finals of Nationals on Universe Point to Fury. Women's division has gotten deeper though, as evidenced by the absence of San Francisco Fury from the semifinal round. Alejandra Uribe dishes it back to Jimena Montaña. Now the swing, Manuela Cardenas. Cartagena back to Manuela, and a travel called. And Megan, you've been around this women's division for a long time. For literally a couple of decades, there wasn't a tournament where San Francisco didn't make the semifinals. To the end zone and a well-timed poach. Sam Rodenberg with the block. Fury missing semis both at Worlds last year in Cincinnati and here at the U.S. Open. Haley Zahnizer was all alone deep, but Manuela Cardenas finally catches up with her as Zahnizer comes under, and on the switch, almost a block for Montaña. Titcomb shooting it, Bradshaw, end zone. Incomplete.
Now that disc sailing just a little farther left than Bradshaw was clearly prepared for.
Not a bad throw though from Titcomb.
No, it was pretty.
Timeout, Revolution. As they try to get another goal or two before half. We'll show you another look at this Jeana Titcomb huck. So 7-3, Seattle leading Colombia. Like these Riot jerseys.
Love them.
On brand, clear numbers.
The most important piece from our perspective.
Triple Crown Tour in 2019. DC Scandal taking down Molly Brown in the finals at the Colorado Cup, July 14th. Select Flight Invite West was also going on that weekend. Vancouver Traffic took that event. Columbus rival with former Riot star Paige Soper back on Deanna Ball's team. Elite Select Challenge a couple weeks away in Rockford, and then 4 weeks from now, the Pro Championships just outside of Philadelphia. ESPN3 coverage of those championship games on Labor Day Monday. Obviously all leading up to sectionals, regionals, and most importantly, nationals back in San Diego. Returning to the site of last year's 50th anniversary celebration. As we all collectively raise the glass to the half century of the sport of ultimate. Pretty good disc movement here. Calm patience from Revolution. Quick touch for Maria Fernanda Galindo. Back to Manuela, to Cartagena. Nearly through the flight path where Rodenberg was hunting.
let's go, I want to Bailey, keep going, Bailey! Good, Bailey!
Jeana Titcom's starting to get tired, you would think, just racing around in the handler set defensively.
Yeah, Revolution is doing a nice job of moving the disc across the entire width of the field, just exhausting the defense.
Thought for a second Manuela might try to alley-oop that into the end zone. If there's someone in the sport who would try it.
No rescue! Hey, Maddie, you can collapse. Find your next one, Maddie. Find the next one.
Titcom taps it back in. Quick dump for Jeana Cartagena. Somehow, Revolution sneaks it through. First goal of the game for Manuela Cardenas. Makes it 7-4.
For the most part, Colombia was being really smart, taking very wide open shots. I think there were probably 2 cheeky shots that entire possession, and that was one of them.
Manuela and Valeria turned 20 years old last week. And one of the fun dynamics of the upcoming club season is to see them on opposite sides for the first time. We've seen Manuela for Molly Brown, but never gone against Valeria in a Molly Brown shirt. That could happen if Molly Brown and Riot collide. Asked Mauricio, do you expect them to guard each other? He says, oh, they will. I don't want them to, but they will.
Yeah, he went on to say that they try to do that during practice. He tries to keep them apart, but they like to choose to guard one another.
Well, they are different players.
Yeah.
You know, and they're still becoming the players that they're going to be. They're just 20, but like Manuela thought of as the more downfield cutter, defender, high flyer. Valeria more of the handler type. Not to say she's not athletic, and not to say that Manuela doesn't have the throws, but I think those are the
thing that sets them apart.
Yes. Pull out of bounds, so Yoshida lets it go, and Alyssa Weatherford, the 13th year Riot veteran, will pick it up. Fontenette, Verjou, downfield. The disc comes to Julia Snyder. Linnea Sue also began this point in the downfield cutting space. Yoshida threw it behind her intended target, and that's a Riot turnover. Cardenas picks up. See if Revolution can march at the 70 yards down the field to get within 2. And a turnover near midfield, out of the reach of the bidding Karen Rico. Rico sisters from Bogota, joining Revolution this year. Nice throw from Julia Snyder to the hands of Cassie Swafford, the former Callahan Award winner at Ohio State. Weatherford, forced flick, breaks the mark inside, and a little too much heat on that shot intended for Riot rookie Linnea Sue. All great handlers love that throw, even when it's not necessarily the best choice.
It's because when done correctly, or when it connects, whether or not it's done correctly, it can be so lethal. Getting your teammate on the break side with a free shot to the end zone.
Mosquera taking off, creating separation from Verjou, and Elizabeth Mosquera hauls it in. Well, you don't usually see Verju get burnt like that on a deep shot, but Mosquera accelerating into the deep space all by herself. All set up by the good handler movement from Valeria Cardenas.
Great throw, great run. Yeah, Mosquera really does have unparalleled separation abilities. I mean, you have a lot of liberty to put it out to space and can be reasonably certain she can run it down.
So Riot with 4 breaks in this first half, Revolution with 2. Riot leading by a couple of breaks at the start. Mosquera to launch the pull. Part of the growing mental game for Mosquera, according to Mauricio Moore, has been kind of the buy-in defensively. I think like all players, or like most players, Elizabeth was saying she wanted to play offense, and Mauricio was like pulling his non-existent hair out saying, look, you're the best defensive player in the world. Why do you want to play offense? And now she believes that. Johnson near the front pylon, and that's out of bounds. So a little errant on the throw intended for Cryle Camp. Good call by the observer, I think.
Absolutely.
Riot opens the door for Revo to get another one back. Run through D from the star of the half, Hannah Kawai. 3 assists, a goal, and a block for the elder of the Kawai sisters. Johnson shakes her mark off her feet and straddling the end zone, Yoshida.
Hey, lateral, let's go around! Go around!
And a stoppage.
Hey, let's score it over here, yeah, hey, let's have Abby. Abby, step to the side.
What's the call?
Injury. Injury.
Injury, injury. Injury, injury.
Come on, Manji.
Janine Crawford steps off. Borrero comes on.
Riot, no sub.
Some of the names and numbers don't necessarily match. For example, that was Rico wearing Akini Young's
Same 4.
old 27 jersey. Another pick. Maddie Fry, longtime player with Columbia Revolution, Atlanta native, wearing number 10 jersey that says Cardenas on the back. It's actually the jersey that Khalees Cardenas wore playing in the Premier Ultimate League with Revolution. You can make an argument that they should all have Cardenas on their back. Tough throw, well executed by Keide Yoshida. Bailey Zanizer with her second score of the half as Riot takes half, 8-5.
Nice hunt from Kawhi with that run through D. And then Riot in a very tough position, but just a nice inside find from Yoshida. I mean, the difficulty of that throw helps you understand the hype surrounding Yoshida.
Ian, take it away.
Thanks, Evan. Mauricio, your team's had a little trouble this morning getting off to slow starts. Why do you think that is?
Oh, okay, we already confessed. We are taking some hard times in like those games that are like slowly down because they're pretty close. So we have this hour between the games. So it's kind of hard for us. Like, are we warming up or we're resting? So it takes time and happen in the morning, happen again. Okay, but it's like, we're 9 into the game. I mean, we're kind of far, but we're still having fun. It's a fantastic game. They're doing a really good job. It's just adjustments, and we'll see.
What kind of adjustments do you need to make there in the second half?
Okay, we got a really good D in the first part of a game, and I'm not trying it right now, but I'm gonna try it again, which is like kind of something tricky in the handlers in the beginning to stop their set plays. That can help us a lot. So we're gonna run that again, and our offense just has to be more like focused on. Like we got like dumb mistakes like stepping out of bounds or something like that. Just like sometimes nervous, sometimes like just disconcentration. But I think we're just basically what we have to adjust is like whatever is happening around. We just check inside what's going on inside and figure it out.
Zooming out from this game, you've been all over the world the last couple months, coaching in Germany, other times in the United States. How do you feel right now as a coach?
Well, my feeling is really, I feel proud of what we have been doing, but more than just like having success and winning tournaments is more about what we're doing and the things that we're doing. We're coming here, we're having fun, but also we're transmitting something. We're creating a really good environment around us in terms of like spirit, in terms of professional ultimate, women's professional ultimate. So it's more about that. Like my feeling right now as a coach is, okay, we're doing what we want to do, and we're doing what we'd say we will do. So that's my feeling.
Well, Coach, thank you very much for your time. Best of luck in the second half.
For sure. We'll try to do a really good show.
Evan, back up to you.
Yeah, Mauricio Moore, never lacking energy. Can always count on that from the Colombian leader. We're at halftime of the first women's semifinal of the 2019 U.S. Open. Seattle Riot 8, Columbia Revolution 5. Back here at the National Sports Center in Blaine, Minnesota, Riot leading Revolution 8-5 at the half. Riot jumped out to a 4-0 lead, Megan, and that really is the story as we take a look at the highlights.
Yeah, a couple of mistakes from the Revolution squad, and Riot was quick to capitalize. Their offense was looking good. They were making nice decisions, working well together. It led to a lot of easy scores from Riot.
It began with a hold after Revolution missed two opportunities to break. And then the deep shot to Zanizer, the bobble and the catch. That made it 3-0. Hannah Kawhi with a big first half. The Kawhi sisters, in fact, getting the job done.
Yeah, they have been taking over for Riot, which is always fun when you have a squad as talented as Seattle. Who's going to come out and make big plays? And the Kawhi sisters are doing just that.
Now, Riot's offense is not unblemished. Revolution has broken them twice.
Right. And you can always expect that from Revolution as well. They are gritty. They are in to win. They're making big plays too. Just some mistakes from the Revolution squad. Unforced, uncharacteristic mistakes that they have to reel in. But all the same, we're still seeing some fantastic movement from Cartagena, who always manages to find narrow margins, knowing her teammates are going to make the grab.
That score got Revolution back within 3. It's 7-4. They would get even closer on this deep bomb to Mosquera. That made it 7-5 before Riot would take half at 8-5. And look, each of these teams now playing their 5th game of the tournament. How much do Cartagena, Cardenas, and Mosquera have left in the tank? That quartet, they are the superstars for Revolution, and they need to be involved in almost every point, you would think. Riot 8, Revolution 5. Second half is on the way.
Welcome back to the National Sports Center here in Blaine, Minnesota. Seattle Riot has an 8-5 lead over Medellin Revolution. I'm here with Lindsay Wilson of Seattle Riot. Lindsay, can you tell us what the factors were that gave Riot that hot start early on?
Yeah, sure. This year we've had a lot of focus on our internal team. And so coming out in the first half, really focusing on leading with our legs and supporting our teammates. And I think there's a lot of focus in general this year on Riot on being motivated by desire for success as opposed to a desire for failure or a fear of failure. And I think that really showed in the first half when folks came out taking shots.
Hannah Kawai had a really dominant first half. What makes her such a great player?
Well, I think Hannah is a great mix of strength and skill. But what I love to see from Hannah this year especially is her desire for competition. She's really stepped up this year in the handler space with a level head and some serious throws.
We know this is a regular season tournament and that other tournaments and the playoffs are ahead for Riot. Where does the team stand and how do they feel about the importance of the U.S. Open right now?
You know, honestly, this tournament is a gift to be able to play teams like Colombia and the Japanese teams this early in the year and really get to adapt our style to other styles of plays that we rarely get to see. And so it's an opportunity for us to bond as a team as we have to work through different styles of play from teams we would rarely or not see during the year. In general, this is a building time for Riot, and so a great time for us to focus on just building chemistry and skills as a team and focus less on winning.
Lindsay, thank you so much for your time. Riot leads Medellin Revolution 8-5 here at the half. Second half action coming back after the break.
We're back in Minnesota. First half scoring summary shows Mosquera with a couple of goals. Cartagena with a hat trick in the assist department. Zahnizer scored twice, 7 different goal scorers for Riot's 8 goals. And Hannah Kawai had 1 goal with 3 assists. Revolution does receive to start the second half. Question is, how much do they have left in the tank against this Riot team that is a little bit deeper, especially at this tournament?
A little bit deeper, a few more players. Revolution has 16 players. Games going to the wire as they have been. Just the entire team has got to be exhausted.
Yeah, with that said, what Mauricio said was accurate. A lot of self-inflicted mistakes, a couple drops, caught one with her foot on the sideline. You know, this could easily be 8-7 right now. Center to Cartagena with Calise Cardenas on the mark. Downfield, it's Manuela Cardenas, picked up by Jeana Titcomb. Maria Fernanda Galindo converts it to Mosquera. And right now, pretty much everybody on the field for Revolution has touched the disc to start the point. Jimenez completes the string. Galindo. And a stoppage. We begin the second half, little less than 20 minutes shy of the soft cap. When the soft cap goes on, add 2 to the higher team score, and I think it's likely that will factor into the final destination in this one, because I doubt we're going to reach 15 unless Revolution really folds fast. And that would be uncommon for this Colombian squad.
Come on, Linnea, let's go.
Members of both these teams were involved at the U24 World Championships in Heidelberg, Germany last month. USA sweeping the women's mixed and men's divisions in Heidelberg.
So contest, accept, contest.
Making the next big national or international tournament after the U.S. Open here in Minnesota, the World Ultimate and Guts Championships scheduled for next July in the Netherlands. And Colombia is going to have a strong women's team again. Manuela Cardenas will be basically a week shy of her 21st birthday at next year's World Championships. 8-6.
Nice bend around the defender from Cartagena to find the streaking Manuela Cardenas.
5th point of the game that has been turnover free. 3 of those 5 from the Revolution O-line. Second goal for Manu. You know, we featured Manuela in the Open, but I think Cartagena is still kind of the queen of this team. She is the rock that all of the young women rely on as much as anybody. And I think you throw Aleja Torres in there, she's not on the field today, veteran rock as well for this Revolution squad.
That's well said. You know, in this game, she's already exhibited her ability, Cartagena has exhibited her ability to both find the space on the field that would be ideal for her teammate to cut to, and then lead her teammate with that throw. That being said, she's also great at just eking those tight throws into the space appropriately, you know, being the difference maker in this score.
Hannah Kawai, Alyssa Weatherford playing catch at the start of this point. Now Kaede Yoshida involved. Looking for Cryocamp. It hung up there, and pretty aggressive play made by Karen Rico, but Cryocamp able to make the catch. Verju downfield with a bit of a mismatch, and Riot finds Jack. 1 foot in the end zone. And 1 pass for the score. Kaede Yoshida.
Here's that throw to Cryocamp that she reels in. And then look, this is part of what makes Yoshida lethal as a player. She'll be back in the handler space, and then in an instant will make her way down into the end zone. If you're defending her, you have to understand that she's a great reset handler, but she's also sneaky and is perfectly content streaking up the line for a quick and easy score.
Would have been interesting odds, Megan, coming into this tournament as to potentially, as you see that's the clock. Little inception right there with the clock counting down, 12 minutes away. So many great Japanese players were here. Buzz Bullets, Nomadic Tribe in the men's division, Huck Uno in the women's division. None of them able to get to the semifinals. Yoshida is the lone Japanese representative in the semis.
10 seconds to pull.
Buzz Bullets falling short against Pony this morning. Buzz Bullets took a 5-3 lead. They did beat Revolver yesterday. Buzz Bullets did. Revolver, an interesting story. We'll deal more into the perennial champs of the men's division who were not in the semis at the U.S. Open. We'll talk about them more later. Our second semifinal will feature Pony and Truck Stop, New York and D.C. And later tonight, back-to-back mixed semifinals. In the mixed division, a little bit of a disappointing weekend for D.C. Space Heater. A lot of talent on that squad, but they're still learning how to play together. They fall short of the semis, taken down by the hometown team, the juggernauts of the division, Minneapolis Dragon Thrust. Mascara to the end zone, and that disc is denied by Sam Rodenberg.
Mascara released so quickly. I don't think she quite set her legs as much as she needed to get the distance on that throw.
First turnover for either team in the second half. Quick flip for Zonizer. Underneath, sliding catch made by Shira Stern. And here's Jeana Titcomb. Certainly plenty of space open downfield for Riot Cutters, but none of them really attacking it. They're relying on the handlers to keep this disc moving, and there's a pick. I think Riot intentionally this year began their season a little later. They have not practiced quite as much. Part of that is a little bit of a feeling of burnout from last year, the really long season preparing for Club Worlds and then US Open, which of course Riot didn't attend last year because they lost in the quarterfinals 2 years ago at Nationals. They were not obligated to attend, and they did not. Riot has long been focusing on trying to peak a little bit later in the season. Good D on the underneath shot from Galindo. And Megan, something like that is easy to say, but it's you can try to say, oh, we're going to have the mindset of peaking later. It's much easier said than done. Revolution punches it in to make it 9-7. That's Montaña with her first goal of the game.
Here's the play that set it up. Just a little bit of a telegraphed throw from Jeana and released a tiny bit late. Vegas was already out of position by the time the throw went off. Revolution quick to march it down. You notice they seem to be one step ahead of their Riot defender that entire possession.
Montaña with the strike. And Cartagena, the dish again. 5 assists for her, including 4 of the last 5 Revo scores. Revolution hanging around, but they're going to need some breaks here. And we'll see if the Riot O-line can stay calm and composed. Riot's got Fontenette, Verju, Yoshida, Hannah Kawhi, Hannah Kryelkamp, Abby Abramovich, and they're looking to center the disc to Alyssa Weatherford, and they succeed. And the Revolution player behind the disc is shaken up. Maria Paula Santos, just 18 years old. Teammates call her Mappa. Looks of concern on Ferrero's face. The mark on Weatherford, and she just kind of tweaked something. Weatherford's mark lost her balance a little bit. Those are the injuries that you fear, non-contact variety. Manuela on, Santos off. Disc in the hands of Jack Verju as we resume. Kryelkamp winding up a couple times. Weatherford, inside flick for Yoshida. Good stretch on that throw. Weatherford to Verju. Sneaky lefty backhand for Kawhi. Pretty good matchup. Cartagena, Verju. Shooting it. Verju has the height. Got the goal. No matter what defender in the world is on Verju, I'm not sure how you stop that.
They are a force of nature, that is sure.
And that was really the story of the World Championship final. Verju was unstoppable.
Just about anywhere in any division, Verju seems to be unstoppable. At 6'1", there are few that can match up with them just standing still. But then in the air, they are capable of winning any battle.
Involved in 3 of the Seattle scores so far. Verju's 5th season on Riot. And for the first time, no Dartmouth teammates also wearing the jersey. Claire Trope, now a member of Boston Brute Squad. Not the first time, but first time in the last couple of years.
Yeah. I'm sure that was quite sad for Verju. I've always enjoyed watching their on-field chemistry, whether in club or college.
By the way, Brute Squad and Scandal, 9-9 in the other semifinal, going on concurrently to this one. Ultiworld will have tape-delayed video coverage of that game for Ultiworld subscribers. That's a disappointing throw there from Maria Angelica Ferrero. The flick just came out of her hand wrong, making Heidi get dirty, which she's happy to do. And a low throw from Heidi, hung on to by Johnson. Soft Cat just a little more than 2 minutes away. Play resumes, Riot will look to regain the form they have in the back of the stack, but not really the front. Oh, no. How about the back of the stack? Quick cut, Rachel Bradshaw from Kelly Johnson. That was fast. 11-7, another Riot break.
Just a low throw from Ferrero. Riot quick to pick up, and thanks to Heidi for keeping it alive with that dig. Vegas knew exactly who she was throwing to. As soon as she tapped it in, she saw the line that Bradshaw could take. And they connect quickly.
Your former nemesis teammate Kelly Johnson connecting with Bradshaw. Rachel Bradshaw also in her 8th season now with Seattle Riot. Got to be honest, I'm a little confused why the back of the Riot jerseys say established 2019 on them. Pretty sure that says established EST period 2019.
TL?
I'm sorry. You're right.
We will have to inquire.
Hey, Jeana, she's a grinder.
Those are almost my initials. ETL, as we're told by our inimitable producer, Dave Tasca, excellence, trust, and love. And they're more than likely on their way to the finals as Revolution continues to unravel here in a performance that from the very start has felt different from 2 years ago. And with no Aleja Torres and no Laura Ospina, Riot playing a little bit better than a couple of years ago. Tough grab made there by Kawhi, who rips it deep. And that is going to trail out of bounds. There's a very different feel to this game, as we knew there would be. The women's semi a couple years ago was, I believe, our 3rd semifinal. in the evening, much bigger crowd. The youth club championships had finished for the day, so a lot of the young players were here, and it was an electric atmosphere. And Manuela Cardenas and Jeana Cartagena had the crowd rocking with the way they were playing. Different energy for this semifinal between these two teams. Same field, same matchup, but very different feel.
Completely different feel. I have to say, you know, every team has experienced losses where the opposing team truly beat them. And then they experience losses where they beat themselves. And without a doubt, Revolution has beaten themselves today. And I feel like those are so much more disappointing because you know at all points in time you have the tools to be performing better, but it can be difficult to put your finger on why you're not gelling and what needs to change.
Pretty good defense from Riot here, making every throw difficult. Active mark from Shira Stern and Valeria Cardenas with a silly backhand break. That's the type of throw. It wasn't for a score, and there's an acrobatic layout from Yoshida that took out Cardenas in the process. Jimenez. This is Cardenas. Eliana Rico overshoots Cartagena, who's tired. Unable to pull the trigger, and her hands were on her knees, and she was slumped over for about 5 seconds. And Mercy arrives with a timeout call from Seattle Riot. Let's go back to the rules conversation for a moment. There have been proposed new rules coming out for next year. They still need to be approved in their deliberations going on. At the moment, the new rules do not give the flexibility to substitute during a timeout. You can only substitute in the club game after a score or because of an injury. Do you think the rules should incorporate some sort of substitutions on timeouts?
I really like the strategy that is then involved when you make substitutions on a timeout.
It adds more value to the timeout.
Without a doubt. I like the change in dynamic that would bring to the game.
So that's a yes. You would be
Yep.
for that rule change.
Yes.
I would be too. I'm not sure how much power you or I have, unfortunately.
I know, I have none. I'm well aware.
It would be somewhat of a dramatic change. This has been the way it's been as long as we can remember for the 50 years of the sport. But there are other changes that are being pontificated. By the way, soft cap did go off. It'll go on after this point. And Kawhi, defended by Gabriela Jimenez. Julia Snyder near the sideline again. That disc is incomplete. Intended for Linnea Sue. And Julia Snyder shaken up on the play. Tina Kitcomb racing onto the field with a wet towel. She got kind of clipped by Eliana Rico. That can wake you up.
Unpleasantly so.
Megan, it's either going to be 12-7 game to 14 or 11-8 game to 13. Another pick call downfield.
We're on 6, everyone. 6. Go ahead and check this one ready.
Karen Rico wearing the young jersey. Downfield to the open side, cutting Cartagena. Wow, Cartagena looked like she had committed to the reset, and that, as much as anything, opened up that open side space again for Karen Rico.
This is what I'm talking about with her field vision. I mean, in her periphery, she sees this space as a viable option. To see past 2 Riot defenders to her teammate who is cutting up the line as she has turned her body to the dump. All options are available to Cartagena at all points in time.
Revolution taking a timeout, realizing that the finish line is near. It's a game to 13. And Mauricio Moore imploring his team to give whatever left they've got. USA Ultimate Triple Crown Tour just getting underway. The club season began a couple weeks back, but it really ramps up. This is the first leg of the Triple Crown Tour, the US Open. To win a Triple Crown, Megan, would be to win the US Open, to win the Pro Championships Labor Day weekend, and to win Nationals. We did see Triple Crown last year in the men's division, Pride of New York. New York's Pony taking the Triple Crown. DC Scandal currently battling Boston Brute Squad in the other women's semifinal. Currently 12-11. Scandal by 1. Elite Select, always an interesting tournament, especially for a lot of the top teams that aren't here at the US Open. Coming up in Rockford 2 weeks from now. Andy Loveseth, they're asking for your input on the defense. That's the longtime coach of Seattle Riot. Fantastic web designer as well, Andy, contributing to USA Ultimate in a variety of ways. That pull just narrowly lands out of bounds. I heard an interesting idea, again, that's not being proposed for the rule set, but if out of bounds pulls cost you an additional 20 or 30 yards, like the brick mark was either at midfield or 5 yards past it, maybe that would force pullers to be a little bit more accurate on their pulls. Put more of a price on the cost of a pull landing out of bounds. Hadn't heard that idea before, and I like it.
Oh, really? I think that's particularly brutal, especially considering how much wind can impact the disc.
Far side!
Adds value to the puller.
Cassie, it's far side!
Riot with a
Cassie, it's swinging this way!
turnover that gives Revolution an opportunity here to inch back within 2.
Middle of the field! Still in the middle,
Here's Cartagena, looking fresh again. Valeria Cardenas to the end zone for the break. Ana Rojas with the score. Revolution not done yet. Beating Weatherford to the open side there.
Yeah, nice movement from Rojas. In a small amount of space where typically
Yeah.
You are coached heavily. Do not dance around. But she takes a few steps, knowing that there's no one behind her. She's not cutting off anyone cutting in. She takes just a few steps and angles back smartly.
I want to say, I don't want to be too hard on Weatherford. After seeing that second angle, that was a really nice throw, wrapping it around the defender there with purpose and precision from Valeria Cardenas. Valeria and Manuela over the past couple years, certainly since their last U.S. Open Championship, they've gotten more active on social media, creating their own YouTube page. Got a long way to go before they catch some of the highest followed Ultimate Superstars as we enter another level 1 hydration break. We saw this a lot at College Nationals in Texas Memorial Day weekend, and frankly, the heat there could have been a whole lot worse. The heat here in Minnesota, perhaps a little more than expected. In the mid-upper 80s. Yesterday it was a scorcher with very few clouds. Today, some overcast skies this morning, but those clouds have burnt away, and the heat has ramped up again. Beautiful complex here at the National Sports Center, the site of the USA Ultimate US Open for the 3rd consecutive year. And this is the 3rd year, Megan, that they've implemented the Youth Club Championships along with the International Club Championships, YCC and ICC as they are colloquially known. You like having the youth on the sidelines for the club games, and obviously it gives the club players who are youth coaches an opportunity to multitask over the course of the weekend?
How could you not? It's so exciting to see where this sport is going and how many players are starting younger, how many teams are becoming more organized. It's just, obviously the narrative continues that it's going to help the overall development of the sport. But that aside, it's just really exciting to see young players here, present, and excited about the game that's being played in front of them.
Multi-World has full coverage of the YCC Championship Sunday, Monday. Meanwhile, these are the results from Germany in the women's semifinals. USA edged Colombia 15-12, Japan 15-13 over Canada, and then that USA women's team taking the championship. Gotta tell you, one of the players on the USA team that most impressed me is a player that Riot is missing today, and that's Samia Ismail, Western Washington product, I believe, who will add a different dynamic to Riot when she rejoins the team. And of course, they're also missing Steph Lim and Charlie Mercer. And even without those missing pieces, they are still pretty good, especially number 22. Berju has had plenty of moments in the club game, obviously at Worlds. Will 2019 be the year that Jack really takes over in the big games at Nationals?
Well, if their performance at college was any indication, yes, they are ready to do that when necessary. Dartmouth didn't have that many players, but when the occasion called for it, Jack was there to make the play necessary. I mean, Jack was on fire that entire tournament. Obviously on Riot, they have greater experience, greater depth, more players. So Jack doesn't have to shoulder that responsibility the entire time, but you think when it comes down to the wire, Jack has shown they have the ability to take over.
By the way, Brute Squad has retaken the lead over Scandal at 13-12 in the other women's semifinal. Seattle Riot needs 2 more goals to punch their ticket to championship Sunday at the US Open. Pretty good handler defense there. Took a while to get it to Yoshida. And now Bradshaw trying to break deep, and Revolution with the defensive pressure. It builds up. Now no one's going with Cartagena. Manuela Cardenas didn't get it to the end zone, but Revolution about 10 yards away from getting as close as they've been all game. Remember, they were down 4-0. Tap back in, Cartagena sacrifices the yardage and another stoppage. Jeana Cartagena is like, I didn't do anything.
Yep.
So they have to come off.
No,
There was contact.
due to contact.
If there was contact.
Well,
so
then
she's
not
fine.
injury.
Yeah. No, it can be
No,
an
the play-
injury.
we're gonna
like
be right
if
here.
you're all by
Throw was in the
yourself
air here.
and you like trip or
So we're gonna
something,
be
you
in
get
on
injured,
one,
then you
okay?
have to take a sub
Go
or a
ahead and ground
timeout.
check when you're ready.
But if it's like a trip or something, yeah,
then you can sit.
sit.
Violation!
I had to learn that.
Violation called. I'd love for the new rules to do something about this.
We're gonna be here on one again.
Exactly.
Number 33, you use that? Go ahead and check the disc when ready, 13.
Valeria Cardenas.
Yes, Katie!
Bouncing Kelly Johnson on the mark. Sisters collaborating in the backfield. Manuela to the end zone, landing on the line though was Cartagena. So by the time she gets her pivot foot set, Jeana Titcomb had to be around 4 in the stall count, but that disc easily gobbled up by Manuela Cardenas. Revolution not going down without a fight.
They may be tired, they may be shorthanded, but they are determined.
Back-to-back breaks. And they're back within 1 in this game to 13.
Remember, it was Cartagena's D that led to the Revolution possession.
Not to mention the handler defense from Ana Rojas. Little head spike there. Wonder if Molly Brown taught her that.
Cartagena is good at putting just enough touch on those throws towards the back of the end zone. That can be a tricky shot to make, but she makes it look easy.
Hey, baby.
See some Jesse Schaffner fingerprints on that forehead spike. 7 assists now for Cartagena, and Revolution, after missing a bunch of chances in the first half, now they're 2 for 2 on break chances in the second half. And you think back to the late stages of the first half. It was 7-3, and Riot had the disc with an opportunity to take half 8-3. They did not. Missed that opportunity. A hold for Revolution made it 7-4. Then a break made it 7-5, and obviously the difference between 8-3 and 8-5 at the half gave Revolution different levels of hope. Julia Snyder. Nice snag by Weatherford, who unleashes a big backhand in pursuit. Zanizer. And she boxed out Rico well. Fontanet tumbling down, hauls in another goal in her illustrious career, bringing Riot within 1 score of the final.
For a split second, I thought this shot had too much air underneath it. Rico played so tight on Zanizer, but Zanizer did a good job of maintaining her position, both shoulders in front of Rico. giving her a little more wiggle room to make this grab. And then Fontenette doing what every coach tries to teach you, follow the disc.
She's had a few coaches in her career.
That's the experience shining through.
We've told Fontenette's story many times, but growing up in Arkansas, very athletic, didn't know a whole lot about ultimate. Was walking around Stanford, saw a practice. Some of the members of the team convinced her to play. A few years later, she won the Callahan Award, the second ever female Callahan Award winner. I want to say in '97. Played for San Francisco Fury for a long time, part of their championship run in the mid-2000s, and then obviously progressing to the Pacific Northwest. Won a couple world titles with Riot, but not a national championship. Well, obviously this is must-score time for Revolution, trailing 12-10. Nice vision there, sensing the space. Took a long time for Riot to transition from the zone defense and then match up downfield. Mosquera, a little shy of the end zone. Montagna. Tons of white jerseys in that tight space, but Revolution impervious. Alejandra Uribe dishes for the score. Riot now with a couple of chances to put the game away.
Nice lead from Uribe. I think one of the things we haven't seen much from Revolution is their long game, which they don't necessarily rely on exclusively, but they certainly have. And Riot has done a good job shutting that down, which just means you have to play with more passes, with more legs. It can be a little bit exhausting to keep up that style of play all game long, but that point in particular, Revolution was able to stretch the field a little bit, giving their offense some breathing room to work. Now, of course, it got a little congested up at the front of the end zone, but as they have shown us, normally Cartagena is at the helm, but they are content to work through really tight spaces for the score.
Seattle is led by as many as 4, trying to close out Revolution and get some revenge for what happened a couple of years ago in the semifinal round of the U.S. Open. Meanwhile, Brute Squad and Scandal are tied 13 all. They're playing to 15. On the field adjacent to us, behind us. For Riot, no surprise, Cryo Camp, Verju, Yoshida, Weatherford, Cassie Swafford, Julia Snyder, and Abby Abramovich. And at the other end, of course, the Cardenas sisters. Rojas, Mosquera, Cartagena. Revolution needs back-to-back breaks to win it. Low throw kept alive by Verju. And Cryocamp and Rojas collide downfield. Both players appear to be all right. Active mark by Mosquera, back to Verju. To Yoshida. Launching. Couple defenders there, and it's eaten up. Manuela Cardenas picks off the deep shot. Bid from Yoshida unsuccessful. To midfield, it's Mosquera. Ferrero is open, and Sheep just barely keeps it alive, although Weatherford was calling it down from across the field.
Okay. Would you like to play it as a contest, or would you like me to make a ruling? Okay. My ruling, it was up, so we're going to take a check.
It's such a tough call, but it looked like the left hand was underneath. We don't know whether possession was maintained, but Manuela there keeps it alive, launching to the end zone. Cartagena can't quite get there.
20!
This would have tied it up and brought us to Universe. Deep shot from Swafford, looking for Verju. Riot unable to close it out with that ball. Second turn of the point for the Seattle offense. Mosquera stride for stride with Verju there.
That has been a fun matchup.
Cartagena makes the first cut. Weatherford on the mark. Up the line, Manuela Cardenas running away from Abramovich, who sets the mark. To the middle for Rojas. And there's Mosquera wide open. Verju was caught poaching. Cartagena, 7 assists already. Valeria to Manuela. To Jeana Cartagena. And really, that's the big four. The Cartagena, Cardenas, Mosquera quartet. Revolution looking for the equalizer to create the first tie of the game. And there it is. But a pick was called. Nope, it has been retracted. And Riot and Revolution are going the distance.
Revolution is absolutely gutting it out this game. They have found their second wind and they are grinding.
The flip side of the coin is Seattle Riot missing some opportunities to put this game away. Frankly, exhibiting a behavior that has been typical of them through the years. They can look great, and then just as quickly as they look amazing, they can be shaky. And that type of inconsistency is something they're still trying to cure.
That's a good point. You know, the very first half, Revolution makes some very silly mistakes that Riot was quick to capitalize on. The second half, I think it's been a little more Riot's decision. They've been throwing some tight throws, not executing appropriately on other throws. Revolution has tightened up their defense. They're staying step for step with Riot, so those closer throws that aren't quite executed well, they are deemed.
Zonizer, Stern, Bradshaw, Titcomb, Hannah Kawhi, Kelly Johnson, and Dominique Fontenette. Worth noting that Jack Verju remains on the sideline. Similar faces that you'd expect for Revolution. Universe point, this is it. 5 of the last 7 points in the second half have been breaks. 4 of those 5 breaks from Revo. After trailing 11-7 and also 12-10. They were down 4-0 out the gate. And here we are, beginning our quadruple header of semifinals with a universe point battle. And Jeana Cartagena has made a call from the middle of the field. Very rare to see Mauricio Martinez without a smile on his face.
Yeah.
Very rare to see Kelly Johnson without her game face.
I thought I had heard foul, so I was waving. So there was a stoppage. So I'm sorry. It's my fault. There was it's my mistake. Yeah, you get to be where you were. The stop.
I'm not sure Johnson is right about the disc being in the air, because Jeana Cartagena stopped chasing after Vegas several counts before that disc went up, and it does go back. Mosquera step for step with Kawhi. Low laser, and a bidding Manuela Cardenas goes flying by. Fontenette actively marked by Galindo. Downfield, Titcomb to Johnson. Continue for Kawhi to the end zone, through the arms of the Hall of Famer. Fontenette unable to close it out.
The throw falling just a little low.
The women from Medellin, after trailing by 3 in the quarters and 4 in the semis, have the disc with a chance to move on to the final. That disc was deflected by Bradshaw, the dump defender, but caught anyway by Manuela Cartagena. Mosquera used several cuts to get free against Zonizer. Up the line, Cartagena shakes free of Kawhi. Looking to the end zone, Manuela Cartagena is there, and the Revolution comeback is complete. 13-12, Revolution moves on to another U.S. Open final. And just like 2 years ago, at the expense of their friends and rivals from Seattle, what can you say about this team?
That they are sensational, they are spirited, and they are spectacular. Again, the throw from Kawhi that Fontenette was not able to recover, and then marching down the field, looking ahead of the defense. The Revolution squad, who found their rhythm in this second half, deliver the final throw that ends the game.
Amazing stuff. One featured player, timeless Hall of Famer Dom Fontenette, unable to make the grab in one end zone. Future Hall of Famer, perhaps. I mean, she's just 20 years old, but Manuela Cartagena scores the last 2 goals of the game, scored 4 goals in the second half. Second half that saw Revolution outscore Riot 8-4. Revo by 1. We'll be back.
The USA Ultimate US Open Club Championships are presented by Spin Ultimate, providing custom team uniforms and ultimate apparel since 2007. Visit Spin Ultimate on the web at spinultimate.com. By the Ultimate History Book, illuminating the legendary stories, moments, and photos from the sport of Ultimate over the past 50 years. Learn more at ultimatehistrybook.com. And by Discraft, home of the Ultra Star, the official disc of USA Ultimate. Now featuring an updated website to make ordering custom discs easier than ever. Visit discraft.com for all your custom disc needs. If only every game could have as dramatic a finish as this one did. 13-12, Revolution comes back from as many as 4 goals down to beat Seattle Riot. The victorious head coach, Mauricio Moore, standing by with our Ian Toner.
Thanks very much, Evan. Mauricio, your team just doesn't like to make it easy for itself. What was the turning point in that second half?
Okay, the turning point is just have a word. It's magic, you know? It's beyond whatever we can do with the forehand and our backhands or whatever system we're doing. It's more about what we're doing inside, you know? Like that reflection we have every single point. It helps us to see what's wrong inside, you know? Like whatever is happening outside is because this same thing is happening inside, you know? So it's, oh, there's a lot of chaos. It's because maybe I'm chaos inside. So I had to set it down. It's like, why am I so angry? Like, I have to be happy, so I changed those little subtle things inside myself, but same every single player. So that was the turning point. You know, I don't know, we forced forehand, I don't even remember, but it's like about what's your goal in a game. So keep on it.
Jeana and Manuela have next level chemistry.
Yeah.
They're just able to lock eyes and make plays. How have you seen that develop over the last couple of years?
Oh God, it's just they're a key on our team because they have been with us together. They have been with us a lot of time, but also because they're really committed to what we're doing in terms of our mental strength. You know, so when people trust on that and keep that path, then things happen. So they are really good. They're really good athletes. They prepare themselves a lot. And not just them, a lot of our players are really into it. So I think it's more about what they're doing, about the mental strength and the trust in what we're doing in the team.
You came up just short against Brute Squad yesterday, and I don't know if you know this, but they just won on double game point on the field over there. So you're going to face them again tomorrow. What are you going to do differently this time?
We're gonna change whatever our mistakes. Like most of the teams are like trying to adjust, thinking about the opponent. I mean, I will see what the opponent showed to me. I mean, they showed us a lot of things, like, you know, about they're breaking a lot, like these little things. But what we're gonna do, it's more about what we're doing inside of ourselves. It's what we have to trust inside of ourselves, and what we got a plan. And if we stick on it, we're gonna make it.
Well, you and your team need to get out of the sun. You need to get some rest. You need to get some water. Thank you so much for your time, and we look forward to seeing you on the field 8:30 tomorrow morning.
Yeah, my friend. See you tomorrow.
Evan, back up to you.
For the second time in 3 years, Columbia Revolution, led by the enigmatic Mauricio Moore. On to the finals. Our Discraft play of the game brought to you by Discraft, home of the Ultra Star. The last point where Dom Fontenette had a chance to close it out, unable to do so. That was a huge gainer up line from Cartagena, and then just floating it to space, and Manuela Cardenas going to win that battle most of the time.
Certainly, as soon as the disc was in Cartagena's hand, I knew Cardenas was running and going to catch that score. They'd been doing it all second half. They were clicking. It was going to happen right here.
As Ian mentioned, Brute Squad in the other field took down Scandal in a back and forth topsy-turvy game as well. So both women's semifinals go to the brink. 13-12 Revolution over Riot. And on the other side of the bracket, Brute Squad over Scandal, where the women from DC, after taking down Fury 16-15, fall just short against Brute Squad. Certainly plenty to build on for them, but remember 2 years ago, Brute Squad didn't even make the semis. They were the odd team out after they lost to Revolution in pool play. They played yesterday, 16-15 Brute Squad. We'll see a rematch bright and early tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. That's 8:30 local. 1 down, 3 to go in our quadruple header of semifinals at the U.S. Open. Coming up 15 minutes late, 3:45 Eastern Time, the defending national champs New York Pony against DC Truck Stop. We've just begun from the U.S. Open on the Saturday, but for now, for Megan Tormey and Ian Toner, Evan Lepler saying so long. We'll be back with the men's semi in just a bit.